Welcome back to Off the Water. I hope you had a happy and safe Mardi Gras. I'm your host, Darth Yacker. Joining me tonight's my sidekick and all-around technical guru, Tyler Caldwell. We also have with us tonight Jeffrey Oliver and Josh Thompson. They're here to talk to us about this weekend's Trout Challenge. We're also excited to finally be able to announce the format for our next tournament, Double Trouble. This is a tournament we've been working on for some time, trying to get the right format down to make sure that it's a level playing field. So we're looking forward to discussing this tournament with everyone tonight. Certainly, we're going to be taking your questions about this tournament. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions today and leading up to it, but we've got a few weeks leading up to it to be able to address everything. Before I get started, I would like to mention a message I received this morning from one of our newer members. I'm not going to mention any names, but this gentleman provided me a little story that I wanted to share with everybody. He's a member of our armed forces serving in Afghanistan. He was shot while on duty. Fortunately, it looks like he's okay now. But when he returned home to the States, one of his buddies from the military got him involved in Bayou Coast Kayak Fishing Club. His first tournament was Paddlepalooza last year. In the past year, he tells me his life's changed significantly. He's lost 20 pounds, and apparently that's making his wife very happy. From what I can gather from the message that we exchanged this morning, I'm sure returning home from a war has been very difficult on him. And I think just reading through between the lines that this club has, helped him get back, kind of get back on track, kind of getting adjusted back to normal life over here. And I certainly look forward to meeting him at our next tournament. Now, none of the officers or even the volunteers that we get our mini tournaments are paid for what we do. But we do it, I think, in part because it helps us help people forget about their problems, even if it's only for a few hours a week or a tournament here and there or sharing fishing stories, etc. I think this day and age, you see a lot going on with depression, anxiety, suicides are on the rise. And I think the more we can do to help each other out, to help everybody kind of have that outlet for their depression or anxiety and get out there, it's better for all of us. And I tell you, I got that message this morning on my way into work when I was driving in. I shared it with some of the other officers. I know it certainly made my day. I think it made theirs. So we do appreciate getting feedback like that, knowing that, what we do, even the little things does make a difference in some people's lives. So we really appreciate that. Kind of keeping on that note, our club donates a portion of the entry fees that we get from Paddlepalooza and Fallen Tide, which are our two big tournaments, to charitable organizations. Now they can be any type of charity, but we usually try to focus on those that involve fishing, since we are a fishing club and we do promote the sport of fishing. So if you're looking for an organization to donate to, you're not sure about some of those organizations, take a look at Mission 6. That's a charity run by Matthew Roberts. I think it helps to get some of these military guys when they get back to the country, helping them deal with some issues, PTSD and stuff. There's Wish to Fish, which is an organization that helps out underprivileged kids getting to fishing, donating old fishing gear to that. There's also another one, Dose of the Coast, which I understand helps people getting going through cancer treatments or other illnesses, kind of giving them a day out of rest there. These are all excellent organizations. You can check them out on their Facebook pages. What we're going to try to do is have a representative from each of these organizations on when we do our Paddlepalooza episodes. Have them talk a little bit about their organization, what they do, and kind of give everybody some information, because generally we hold a club vote for which organization we're going to donate to that year. Certainly, if you're part of an organization that's involved in similar type missions, feel free to let the club know. We'll certainly put it out there, as we always like to support these organizations. So back on a happy note, we had Trout Challenge this past weekend. Great tournament. We had some really good weather, as it turns out. But I got a message, Tyler, from one of the lady members of our club before the tournament, Hart Faust. She'll come on and post on the club a lot, and her and her fiance were going to fish the tournament, and she texted me and said, look, I've been out there before, but I don't really fish with artificial bait a lot. I usually lose live bait. No idea what I'm doing. I'd be happy catching one trout. Can you kind of point us in the right direction? So, sure, there's some areas that I think close by for some beginners and people learning, and made the recommendation. Of course, I think the easiest bait to use when you're going for trout this time of year is probably going to be a voodoo under a cork. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. After the tournament, she texted me and said that her and her fiance ended up catching 5 keeper trout, 4 redfish, and a bass. So, pretty exciting for someone going out there, never really having fished with artificial baits before, going out there and catching some fish, especially when you think that we had a number of people get skunked this past weekend. I'm not going to mention any names, Colby, but there were some people out there, I think, that got skunked, as I recall. So, look, I also want to give a shout out to Jessica Bryant, one of the salty chicks. Our Angler of the Year points were updated. Thanks, Tyler, for getting out so quick. And Jessica is sitting pretty. She is in the top 15, having weighed in fish at both Minimalist Challenge and Trout Challenge. So great job, Jessica. I didn't do the math, but I think you're 15 or 16 spots ahead of your husband. So he's going to have a little catching up to do. I guess a little bragging rights going on in the Bryant household these days. One other thing I found out, one of our members mentioned to me that this podcast can be viewed on the Facebook app on most smart TVs. So what I hear is that if you are not watching us on a 60-inch curved HD TV, you are missing out. So I think I'm going to try to give that a go next time I'm at home and can watch it. So moving on a little bit, Tyler, we had Lent coming up. I had a pretty good week this past week. I got to tell you, I gave up alcohol for Lent. I lost 3 pounds just by giving up my nightly wine.
We'll see how long you stick with that, though. We lost your video.
He gave up wine.
It's killing me right now not to have a glass while I'm talking talent. I gave up wine. It's tough. I'm drinking water right now. Cheers. So kind of moving on to Trout Challenge, guys, we had a great turnout for this event. We had 73 registered anglers, 39 people weighing in fish. I think our last 2 trout challenges, we probably had under 40 people registered. I know there were some people concerned about fishing for trout in March. But this was an idea mentioned by Chuck Bahan, actually, one of our assistant tournament directors. He thought it might be an idea. Tyler actually helped select the date for the tournament. So I give props to those 2 guys. We end up having some really good weather, all things considered. Lots of fish were caught. Some big fish were caught. And I think everybody that fished the tournament had a really good time. One of those guys is actually Jeffery Oliver, who we have here today. Jeffery managed to finish in the money, snagged 5th place in this tournament with a 10-fish stringer of 13.57 pounds. So, Jeff, I've been in Bayou Coast for a couple of years, and I always see your names kind of popping up on the leaderboard in a lot of our tournaments. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from, Jeff?
I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana, and I primarily fish in Lake Pontchartrain.
Part of New Orleans?
I'm sorry, you're breaking up a little bit.
How did you get started in fishing?
Oh, I got started.
Sorry about that. How did you get started fishing?
Oh, I started years back when I was a little kid. My dad would take us out onto the lakefront, and then maybe when I turned 10, he bought a boat, and so he would take us out at Seabrook and Lake Pontchartrain, and we would catch croakers and white trout on the bottom with market bait. And that's when I fell in love with fishing.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm trying to adjust some things over here. So, Jeff, you started out fishing in Lake Pontchartrain?
Yep, pretty much. Yep, still fishing in Lake Pontchartrain now.
That's kind of what you consider your home waters, huh?
Yep. That's what I do most often. I live like 10 minutes away from the lake, so that's where I usually default to going.
Yeah, and I know the opening of the spillway's got to be killing you right now.
Oh yeah, it's rough because we were just getting to the spring run of speckled trout in the lake, and the fresh water is going to push all those trout out for the most part.
How long have you been kayak fishing?
I started kayak fishing in 2014, and I bought my first kayak in January, and like right before Minimalist Challenge, I jumped into Minimalist Challenge, and I've been doing the tournaments and fishing at any chance I can get ever since.
That's great. So with respect to Trout Challenge, did you do any scouting prior to the tournament?
I did a little bit of scouting. I was I guess what was that? The last week of February, I was doing the Massey's Fish Picks tournament. I needed to upgrade my trout, so it kind of fell into place where I did a lot of trout fishing that last week of February, and I scouted out a few different areas looking for some big trout. And I didn't find them for the Massey's tournament, but I did end up finding an area where I wanted to fish for the Trout Challenge, looking for that upgrade.
Okay, all right. And so, the tournament's coming up. You kind of, I know you're familiar with the area, you're not living that far from it. What area did you decide on? And I know we're not going to get into specifics, but, there's basically 4 big areas out there: Shell Beach, Hopedale, Delacroix, Reggio.
Yeah, so we ended up fishing Reggio. Me and my buddy Cody kind of had a plan. We had an area that we usually fish this time of year. And I was surprised when we got to the launch that it was only 2 other guys launching there, because I know that there's some good trout fishing there this time, winter and through the early spring. So, we fished Reggio area.
Okay. Tell us about your strategy when you went out. Did you have any particular strategy based on the conditions or anything?
Yeah, my strategy was to try to get it done early, because I knew that the wind was going to start blowing somewhere around 10 o'clock. So we launched at the earliest possible time. I think, what was that, 5:45?
Yeah.
And we launched at 5:45, headed out to our spot, and we were casting the whole way there, trying to get those 10 fish stringer in the boat, no matter what size it was, because we knew that the wind was going to pick up to 15, 20 miles an hour. Is going to make it tough to fish. Yeah.
So initially, what you wanted to do, from what it looks like, you were just trying to get the 10 fish in the boat, not really focused on trying to get those big fish early. Get 10 fish, and then maybe try to upgrade a little bit later on.
Yeah, that was pretty much the strategy, was to just fill out the limit and then get my my upgrades as the day went on, and try to upgrade and knock out the smaller fish as I went through the day. But we did. We started with top water in the morning, so that's usually a big fish bait. So it didn't hurt to throw top water early and work fast with the top water, because we knew we were going to catch quality fish on top.
Yeah. So what type of baits were you using out there?
Usually when I throw top water, what did I use? I used a Mirror Sheet Dog. That was my first bait. And I also threw a Rappel Skitter Walk for the other half of the time. But it seemed like the Sheet Dog was working better. It's a louder top water, so it seemed like it was getting a better response.
What color Sheet Dog were you using? Because that was a similar bait what I was using.
What was I using? A Bone Glow. I think that's the name of it. Glow. It's a whitish color.
Whitish color. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, did you notice any particular pattern to the trout out there when you were fishing them?
Yeah, actually, it was a pretty interesting topwater bite in the morning. You would make your cast, and then you would work it like twice. I would pop it twice, and they would hit it within that first few twitches of the topwater. But after that, they wouldn't hit it all the way back to the boat. So they would only hit it after the initial splash down and the first few pops of the lure. So it was interesting.
Okay. Did you ever switch from anything from other than top water?
Well, I threw top water pretty much straight through till 10 o'clock when the wind started picking up. And after that, I started to alternate between a popping cork and a top water. And I found that if you popped it pretty aggressively, which is interesting because I heard something you said earlier, I was popping it very aggressively, and that's when I was getting my bites. If I would let it sit, it wouldn't do anything. But we kind of just drifted with the wind across these open bays.
So with you
would run in the fish every now and then on the popping cork. And I actually caught some decent,
so that's interesting.
18, 19-inch trout on the under the cork.
So you had to pop it aggressively and really work it for those trout to bite over there.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like. Well, we were fishing open water that was pretty rough once that wind picked up. So I it seemed like that was the best way to call them up and get their attention.
About how deep were you finding the trout in the water over there?
So we fished areas that primarily people think of as red fishing areas. So a lot of times it was 3 feet, 3-foot ponds. And it seemed like the trout would hold into the deeper areas. Wherever you could find like a little drop off that dropped to 4 or 5 feet, the trout would be sitting in those troughs and areas like that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Biggest trout you caught out there this past weekend?
I think my biggest one was like 20 and a half inches, something like that.
Yeah, there was some good trout out there.
Yeah, there were some nice ones. I had one huge one blow up on it, but he jumped over the top water. He didn't hit it at all. He just missed it.
I think a lot of people had stories this weekend about big trout being missed. I know Chuck was actually telling us he had a Chuck Bahan. I think he finished in 4th. He had a nice trout that was actually being chased and eaten by a big bull red, 41 inches, coming after these trout.
40, yeah, that was a big red.
Yeah,
I saw the pictures of that on the Facebook.
Yeah, that was a big red. Just a weekend too late for him, I think.
Exactly.
That would have been a nice fish the prior weekend at IFA. So, how long? And I know you're familiar with this area. How long do you think these trout are going to be in this area? For people that now the tournament's over, people maybe wanting to get out there and try to get on some of these trout.
They'll be here for maybe through April, mid-April. Once that grass starts growing up in the ponds, then it kind of shuts down the fishability of that area. And then the trout start to move offshore to spawn.
Yeah.
Probably mid-April, they'll be here.
And that's a big point, because when you fish in Reggio, the grass gets thick over there.
Mm-hmm.
And, fishing with things like topwater, treble hooks, voodoo under cork, things of that nature, very, very difficult to fish with those type of baits mostly during the year, especially, it's more or less known as a redfish spot. But, Reggio is kind of a hidden gem for trout fishing. I mean, they get some big trout in there.
Yeah. Yeah, especially this time of year. Those trout love to get in those grassy areas and eat up on the mullets and whatever bait is left in the marsh during the wintertime.
Yeah. I know you fished with some other people out there or had launched and y'all fished. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the baits that, were effective for other people out there that you spoke with?
Well, I fished with my buddy Cody. We fished pretty close together. And I think he was throwing he also threw a skitter walk for most of the morning. And then he put on, he threw some matrix sheds, different colors, and under the cork. And that's pretty much what he was using.
He's a fan of
people that I talked to in our area were using cork with plastic and top water for most of the day.
Yeah, I know Cody's a fan of that. The matrix. I think it's the Holy Jolie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he talks about that a lot. I've seen him posted. I actually had one. I caught a few fish Saturday on that bait. It's an interesting looking bait, very clear with some specks in it. But I picked up a big bag of it on the way down there, just in case, just in case that was a secret bait. So
I like those natural colors.
Yeah. How did you find the water? Clean, dirty?
Where we were fishing, it was very clear and very clean. You could see the bottom in 3 feet of water when the sun popped out.
Yeah, which wasn't often.
Right.
Yeah.
But later on in the day, it did come out, and you were able to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So you finished 5th overall this tournament. Got some good Angler of the Year points out of it. And did you qualify for the championship at Minimalist?
No, I didn't qualify. So I qualified this week.
So you're in now.
Yeah, I'm in.
Now you don't have to worry about fishing the other 2 tournaments. You can just kind of.
Yeah, I'll probably take it easy for the next 2.
Back.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, we'll come back to you a little bit. Let's move on to Josh Thompson. Josh been on before. He's the club president right now. Josh, I know you had an interesting day out there. Tell us a little bit about your day.
Man, we had a great day. And so I guess I'll tell everybody kind of our little story here, and you can share later. So we started out, Sean, myself, Tyler, and Jason Bain. We launched down in Reggio, and I think Jason launched a little bit after us. Like he took a nap in his truck to get a little extra energy. So Sean and I moved out. We went out. We started fishing a certain area, and immediately we saw, fish hit on the top. Sean was throwing top waters. I was throwing top waters. I picked up a small rat red. Realized there really wasn't anything there, so we moved out a little bit, and we got to where I had caught some trout the weekend before, pre-fishing for the IFA. Didn't catch any trout for the IFA. But, we got out there, and immediately the trout bites. So we got going, and we're picking up trout, and like Sean said, voodoo shrimp under a popping cork. We were actually trolling with the rods and the rod holders of the Outbacks, and just dragging that popping cork and voodoo shrimp behind us, and you'd hear that cork start going off, and you reel it in, and we were picking up some nice trout. I don't think I caught a trout. I did. I caught one trout under 15 inches all day. The second trout I caught was 12 and a half inches. So
I caught one at 14 inches, and everything else was 15 and up after that.
Right.
And I didn't have a single dink throwback.
Yeah, there were some really good trout. And at the end of the day, between the four of us, we'll get to that point later, but we all caught some really good trout. It was one of those days where I know the four of us would love to go back and be able to duplicate that later in life. So I guess to get to what everybody wants to hear about is so I think I had 7 trout, maybe 8 trout in my bag. It was later in the day, probably in between 9:30, 10 o'clock, and the wind's really starting to pick up, and I'm getting some, not really white caps, but you're getting some waves. And we were catching fish on the wind-beaten banks. So, we were fishing those banks and the voodoo shrimp under a popping cork, and I hooked into a really nice one. And Sean was probably, 50 feet away from me. And I told him, I said, this is a good one. So I get my net, and I've got the fish, and it's right beside the kayak. And I guess my weight shifts, and I'm on the edge of the Outback, and my bag has other fish in it and some ice, and it shifts. Well, once all that weight gets to the side of the kayak, I earned my turtle hat for this year. So, yeah, I got thrown out of the kayak. The water was cold. It was 65 degrees. I did have a rain coat on to more or less to keep the gnats off of me, and that helped a little bit. But it was really cold, and I know Sean got there really quick. My life vest inflated. Chris Holmes would be proud of me. Good PSA, wear your life jackets, even if you're the most experienced angler. I've been fishing out of kayaks for 9 years now. So even as an experienced angler, so it's the second time I've got tossed. You never know when it's going to happen. It's going to happen. You just don't know when it's going to happen. So, Sean come up, asked me if I needed help. Yes, Sean, I need help. Well, in the meantime, he's got his phone out. He's taking pictures and video. And Tyler and Jason's coming up. Jason's asking, why are you in the water? So everybody's got the cameras out, and I was able to entertain for the day.
Tyler, I think we have some video of that incident. Can we play the video?
Yeah, let me put that up.
All right, but give us a second. We're gonna actually.
All right.
I had this show in mind when we did the video, so let's take a look at it.
The award goes to Josh Thompson. Josh, tell us a little bit about your day.
Well, I got number 9, and he put up a pretty good fight, but
I can't see it yet.
I'll take it. It's okay.
That's a hell of a trout, man. It was worth the swim.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's get you out the water, dude.
Yeah, let's get out.
The one thing here, I can recommend, if you have an inflatable life vest, you need to pack a few extra CO2 cartridges with you. You see how it's inflated now? I had to fish the rest of the day like that so I wouldn't be DQ'd. I didn't have an extra life vest. I didn't have any extra CO2 cartridges to recharge it. So with it inflated like that, that's how I fished the rest of the day. Now, I didn't catch more trout. I was able to upgrade to where I didn't have to weigh in the 12.5 or, a couple of the 15s. Got some really good fish. I don't think I weighed in a fish under 15 inches. Ended up in 6th place. And to be able to give the message that no matter how experienced or unexperienced you are, please wear your PFDs.
Yeah.
So I got a picture and a story. I want to add a little bit more to that. So Sean and Jason go over to help / take videos and pictures. And next thing you know, both of their rods and lines get all tangled up. So I got a picture I want to put up of Josh is in the water with both of their lines tangled up. It looked like a complete mess. And I was thinking, all 3 of these guys finished in the top 10. And if you'd have paddled past them at that point, you'd have thought they'd have never been in a kayak before in your life.
And these are your officers, people.
Yes. So okay. Now let me give a third party perspective as to Josh's event, because I was right there. I was literally, a matter of maybe 50 feet from Josh.
You were the cameraman.
Yeah, he's fishing. I'm on a point, and I said this point here is going to hold. I think this point's got a big trout, and I'm throwing. I got a blow up on my top water, and I look over and I see Josh, and Josh is yelling, "I got a big one! I got a big one!" He's standing up in the kayak, and I'm watching him. I said, dude's gonna fall out. I knew it. I could, but before I could say anything, he's got both feet on the same side of the kayak, which is a definite no. You need to keep 1 foot on one side of the kayak and 1 foot on the other side. So he's got both feet on the side of the kayak. He's yelling about this big trout. Next thing I know, I see him go in the water. There goes his ruler. There goes his some of his fish bag. Thank God his fish bag was closed. Because I know had those trout come out of there, his 7 or 8 trout, he would have been, that would have been a game changer for him. Now, to Josh's credit, he stayed cool. He kept the rod in his hand. His life jacket's inflated. He's holding onto the side of his kayak in about 3.5 foot of water, 65 degrees. We're all laughing like crazy now that we know he's okay. The trout is still on the line. Okay, and this is a 20-plus inch trout. Josh reaches over into the kayak, grabs his net.
No. The net was pinned under my knee.
Oh, yeah.
I had to pull it out of the mud to net it.
Yeah, so he actually gets the net, nets the trout, throws the trout into the kayak with the net while he's standing out there and we're going around gathering gear and stuff, Then he's got to walk on over in this water. Mind you, we're all taking pictures and video of him at this point. And he's a good probably 20 yards away from the bank. So he's making his way over to the bank trying to get in. And this is where this cluster occurs. So now me and Jason's rods are all tangled up. Poor Josh is still in the water. Jason are worried about our rods and our good baits getting ruined here. And Josh is like, hey, can I get a hand? He saves the trout, though. He saves the trout.
It was a Mike Iaconelli moment.
Yeah, he finished the day, gets his 10, finishes in the top 10 to qualify for the championship. So, I mean, that's a courageous story, Josh.
Never give up.
Never give up.
Well, and then so a little bit later in the day, we see him. He's still wearing that big inflated life jacket fishing, and we're like, Josh, what are you doing still wearing that thing? And he said, man, I don't want to get disqualified because the rules say I got to wear my PFD. He fished all day with that blown out life jacket.
At one point he says, he looks at me, he says, well, I guess I got to go in. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's around like 10:30 or so. He said, well, my PFD. I'm like, Josh, the rules say you just have to wear it. You're wearing your PFD. It's inflated. You're fine. Keep fishing.
I was great for the rest of the day.
You see him all day long with these big blown up yellow sides around his neck, throwing his line, fishing. But he did it. He finished it. He caught what'd you finish with, like 12 or 13?
A little over 12 and a half pounds. Jeffrey come up, and when we weighed his fish, I told him, man, you're close to me. And I didn't know if he was over me or right there at it, but congratulations, Jeffrey.
Yeah, amazing.
It's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess, look, we'll go on to me. I finished in first place this weekend. This was a special tournament for me because I love trout. Redfish are one thing, catch plenty of redfish, but for some reason a couple years ago I got hooked on this concept of just landing these big trout on top water. So when we got out there, I was heading out, and I launched with me and Josh at the same time. Tyler was not too far behind us, and it was real foggy out there. And I think Tyler's probably got a picture he can show, but it was real foggy and kind of real overcast. And I know, talking to Brendan, I was thinking of Brendan at that point because I know these are Brendan's kind of days. These are the days that he kind of drools over, and he couldn't come to the tournament. He had a wedding or something like that he had to go to. But I'm paddling out, and I said, man, I just have a feeling there's going to be some big trout caught today. Maybe not by me, but I had a feeling some big trout were going to be caught with those kind of conditions. But like with Jeff, I was concerned about the wind. We knew the wind was going to be picking up. And I said, the first thing to do, get out there, try to catch you 10 fish, and then see what you can do. Maybe you can get lucky and catch a decent trout. And my goal again was to, hopefully finish the money, top 10. We had some great anglers out there. Chris Holmes was out there, Steve Neese, Steve Lassard, Squints Vinoy, Jeff, just some great guys out there that are really good trout fishermen. So we get out there, we hit an island that we'd fished the previous weekend, and just not much there. What was happening was the trout would hit the top water, kind of blow up on it, but not really take it. They'd kind of pop it up, and you have those sometimes. And so we ended up moving one island over, and that made all the difference in the world. It's still hard to believe how moving just not that far could have made that big of a difference. What was happening though is we were catching trout under a popping cork, but they, unlike with you, Jeff, they weren't taking it while we were popping it. We ended up trolling that voodoo or that soft plastic under a popping cork down these islands. And it was funny to see us because if you look back, you'd see just a line of kayaks. You see one, then a couple, 30, 40 yards behind that, you'd see another kayak, then another kayak, just trolling that bank with that voodoo or that soft plastic. And all of a sudden you'd feel that thump. You'd hear that rod going, turn around. And I think maybe my first trout was 19-inch trout. I think I had a picture of it on there, Tyler. But I was pretty pumped after I caught that one because I knew there were some big trout out there. Really excited about that. A little bit later on in the morning, the topwater bite started picking up. So, Jeffrey, like you, I was throwing that she-dog. It was the blue and silver one. That's a bait that we got at Minimalist Challenge. I think the last year Steve Lassard picked the baits. And that is probably one of my all-time favorite topwater baits. I've probably bought 5 or 6 of them since then. I don't know what it is about the color, the pattern, whatever, but it's just been very good to me over the years with that topwater. So at that point, we're fishing in about 3 foot of water, and the trout are hitting the baits while we're trolling them, and they're starting to hit the top waters in front of us. What I can say is that when you're fishing around these islands, there were some beautiful points. You just see this flat, calm water, these slicks, and you're thinking, this looks like a perfect area. I fished all those calm points and never got a bite. Everything was coming from the windward side. At one point, we may have been fishing in a foot chop out there, and the trout were still biting it. If you went into any of the protected areas, the trout didn't want to have anything to do with it. And I talked to Steve and I talked to Brendan about this after. And, one of the common theories is that what happens is this wind is pushing all this bait up against the island. So all the bait is being pushed by the wind and the surf into this area. So you've gotten, and I think that's why most of the trout we were catching were larger trout, because the smaller trout aren't able to feed up in there because of the waves and the current and everything. So the trout we were catching are 15 plus inches. We used, I used the natural color voodoo under a popping cork about a foot. Trolling it only, I just put it in the back of the kayak and go up and down the islands. I'd hit any spots, any points I could find. There were some other areas. There was a little island that you could drift off of, probably about 50, 60 yards off the shore, that we saw a boat just drifting down. And he wouldn't catch anything anchored. He had to drift. It was the same thing with us. None of the trout were in one spot. You had to keep moving. If he sat down and anchored, you'd maybe catch one trout, and that was about it. The trick was to keep moving. We did a little island hopping, maybe pick up some trout here and there, and then come back to one of the other islands. He'd pick up another. So these big trout, when talking to people, they don't school up really. You're going to find them solo, and that's what you want. Especially when you throw in a top water and you're looking for those big trout, you want to kind of keep moving down 20, 30 yards and everything. So that was really the pattern we found. I had 3 over 20 inches. I got lucky on
I think we're losing him.
a big 22 inches, and I'm taking mule trout at 3.82 pounds. Yeah, sorry. So anyway, yeah, sorry guys, I'm in a hotel tonight, so the internet's not as great as it is at home. But so anyway, we were fishing in 2 or 3 foot of water, top water, voodoo under a cork. Those were the baits I think all of us used out there. Caught some really nice trout. One of those days we'd love to be able to live again, especially fishing with friends. So it was just a great day out there. Real quick to recap though, we had 5 places paid out. Jeffery Oliver came in 5th at 13.57 pounds. Chuck Bayham came in 4th at 13. Squints Fenoy had 18.38 pounds.
Sean, we lost you bad, man. We can't. We're not hearing anything you're saying. We didn't even hear any of the results or anything. So,
Squints Fenoy was in 3rd place. I don't know his weights. I don't have that right here. Steve Lassard was 2nd place. He had a really nice bag. I think he was
17.39 pounds. Steve Lassard.
For Steve, what did Squints have?
Squints had 14.7.
14.7. Then Sean was 19 point something in 1st place. Just some epic trout brought in. And what I wanted to tell everybody was Sean didn't even have to work for it. Me, you, and Jason were out there working our behinds off for the fish, and Sean was, trolling, catching the fish.
I know.
So,
I tell you,
he's all right now, we can tell everybody that every fish that he caught was just trolling.
Yeah, he caught that big one on topwater, and I swear I worked up and down the same bank of this island, back and forth, 20 minutes, and he comes around the corner and throws the topwater and catches that 3.8 pound and lands it, and he comes by my kayak and he's like, "Ha! Look, we have the same topwater tied on." I'm like, "You got to be kidding me, man!" I've been sitting here for 20 minutes, and he comes around the corner and
so for on the soft dog that we got at Minimalist Challenge, I want to say in 2018, it was in our bag for then. It was the soft dog. I call it a parrot color. It's kind of like a darker green, and it's got a glow pearl colored body, and it's got an orange spot on its throat area. I think I caught 3 fish all day on top water, but most everything else was under cork.
I'm going to put up a picture. I know Sean kind of cut out when we're talking about it, but he did end up with big trout. It was 3.82 pounds, and I'm just going to throw up a picture of it. It's a pretty nice fish for tournament day for sure.
He had that one, and Michael Etheridge, I think, was the only person that was even close to being a threat. He was maybe like an ounce or something smaller. But Michael only had, I think, 3 trout that he weighed in.
There he is. I think he's back.
He's back. Can you hear us, Sean?
Nope, he's not back.
Thompson's back.
All right. Well, look, we're going to transition. I wanted to talk a little bit about an event that Pack and Paddle's having this weekend. I've been there the last 2 years, so this will be my third year in a row. It's really neat. Honestly, to me, it's probably one of the best events that we have for kayak fishing in the state. They've been doing it every year. So on this Friday night from 5 to 8, it's called Beer and Gear. It's at Pack and Paddle in Lafayette. They have representatives from all of a bunch of different vendors that they deal with in their store, kayak companies, accessories that come in from all over the country, and they set up booths with their new products. And they're also required to bring like 3 cases of beer from the area that they're from. So when you come to the event, you can walk around and you get to try free like craft beer from different areas of the country. It's really neat, and see the products. They have door prize, so when you go in, you get 1 raffle ticket for free. You can buy extras. They give away a bunch of door prizes from all these different companies. With the big prize being this year, they're giving away a 2019 Hobie Outback. So just by showing up, you get a free chance at winning the Outback, and of course you can buy extra chances at winning it. So that's a pretty good prize. And then following that, on Saturday morning, they have a big demo day from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. At Vermilionville Pond, which is 300 Fisher Road. And all these various kayak vendors set up. All the guys that represent the companies come out there. All the kayaks are out there, and you can talk to them one-on-one and learn about all the different kayaks. It's a pretty impressive event. Like I said, I've been the last 2 years, and I'm looking forward to going this weekend.
And Pack and Paddle does sponsor our Angler of the Year. They have in the past. Good company over in Lafayette to go visit for all your kayak and outdoor needs.
That's correct. Sean, did you make it back, or you still just looks like he's frozen?
Yeah, he's frozen. So while you're talking about beer,
can you hear me now?
Oh,
yeah, we can hear you. Hang on. When Sean sent us that text this morning about the guy who's sending the text message, we know who that guy is. When we get to Paddlepalooza, look me up. If you drink beer, I'll buy you a beer. If you want a Coke, Diet Coke, water, whatever, come look me up. I want to shake your hand and thank you for your service. And glad you're a member of the Bayou Coast Kayak Fishing Club. Appreciate you.
Sean, you have service yet, or give us a test? Yeah, so I know Lafayette Kayak Club has a tournament coming up called March Madness. It's a really neat format. Do either of you guys happen to know the date? Because Sean had the date, and he's in now. I think it's maybe March 30th, or
I think it's the 23rd, March 23rd.
Okay. Yes, it's pretty neat. So they require you to bring, I think it's maybe 8 plastics. Look at the rules. I might be saying it wrong, but you put 8 plastics and 1 wild card bait in a Ziploc bag. It could be a spoon or a spinner bait or whatever you'd like. And when you get there in the morning, everybody puts their Ziploc bags in a box, or they're all numbered. And then you draw a number. Sean's calling me now.
Tell him we got this.
Sean, we got this, man. Just enjoy your crappy Wi-Fi.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you just plug me in? Let me just talk to you guys over like this.
Plug you. I want to plug you in. Can y'all hear him?
I can hear him.
Okay.
Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah, go ahead. Speak.
Hey, yeah. So I just to let you know, Sean. I was talking about March Madness and the format about they let you bring 8 baits, 8 soft plastics, a wild card bait. You put it in a Ziploc. When you get there in the morning, you turn them all in. They number the bags, and you draw a random number out the box, and that associates to the bag of baits that you get to fish with. So you don't know what you're going to fish with. They do allow you to bring your own wild card, so you can bring one bait of your confidence choice, whether it's a spinner bait or whatever you'd like to bring, and I think maybe a popping cork. And then you also need to bring 8 jig heads or hooks to associate with those soft plastics. Now, the catch is that if the person that is fishing with your bag wins the tournament, you also win money. So that's kind of an incentive to not load your bag with a bunch of junk that nobody wants to fish with, So
Bring the good stuff.
Yeah, it's a real neat event. You know, it's got a very minimalist challenge for us as a really popular tournament, and it's a very similar feel because it's a shotgun launch all from the same place with limited bait selection. It's a very similar format and probably one of the more popular events that they do as well. So it's worth checking out.
Is that still down in
It's the Lafayette Kayak Fishing Club, LKFC.com.
Yeah, something like that. I think it might be LafayetteKayakFishing.com or something like that. But
Yeah, and they're on Facebook too. Good club, good guys.
all right, Sean, you wanna try to take it from the cell phone and see if it works?
And let me know if anybody has any trouble hearing. But here we're going to talk about our next tournament briefly. Is going to be Double Trouble. This is going to be a team tournament, and we will certainly get into a little bit more details on it when I get back and we have a better internet connection. But essentially, this is a tournament that's going to take place on April 6th. The legal areas to fish include all of Terrebonne and Lafourche Parish. The weigh-in's going to be at Pat Kayak Rentals over at Eddie and Lisa's place. This is a tournament we've been working on for a while. We've been trying to get the format right. We want to make sure that the playing field was level. You know, we've got a lot of good anglers, and what we wanted to prevent was really the creation of any super teams. So the format's essentially going to be the heaviest weight of 1 redfish and 5 trout. Now, this is per team member. So each team can weigh in 2 reds and 10 trout. But the caveat is each member can only weigh in up to 1 red and 5 trout, meaning you can't have one team member weighing in the 2 redfish, the other team member weighing in the 10 trout. You can't share fish. So whatever fish you catch, you have to weigh in individually. And a couple reasons for that. One, the individual weight's going to go to the Angler of the Year points. So even though you may have a good day and your partner may not have a good day, that's okay because we're going to take that into account for your individual weight. Will be decided amongst everybody else's individual weight. Additionally, your individual weight will determine whether or not you qualify for the championship. So the top 15 individual weights will qualify for the championship. Also, there's going to be an individual Calcutta, and that's going to award money for people that choose to fish that individual. Now, I think what we're going to do is it's going to be a $30 entry fee for each team member, so $60 a team, and then each team member will have the option of putting in $10 for the individual Calcutta. Now, the $10 fee will be repaid 100% back to the anglers, depending on how many people we have fishing the Calcutta. Will depend on how many individual places we will pay. Same thing with the team tournament. Now, the team award obviously will go to the team, and then they can choose to split it however they want. We would assume it'd be 50-50, but that'll be split however they would like it. Again, all anglers are required to wear a PFD. And for this particular tournament, this will be the one that we allow any type of bait you want to use. So live shrimp, cockahose, croaker, whatever you want to use, you can use in this bait. Obviously, gulps, scents, any type of things like that. That's also to help out some of the local marinas in the areas that we fish. You're looking at a lot of different areas that can be fished here. Certainly Pointe-a-Chien, Golden Meadow, Basons, Leeville. All of those areas are in play. What I would recommend to the anglers fishing the tournament is that, if you're strong in one area, say that you're a strong trout fisherman, but maybe not so much redfish, try to team yourself up with somebody who is maybe a very good red fisherman that knows the areas, that can focus on that. The purpose of the event is to basically have you fishing with your friends, having you guys rooting for each other, and having the team members help each other out. So for me, for example, I'm fishing with a partner right now that I have playing who is somewhat trout challenged. He loves to fish redfish, great red fisherman, but his problem is once he catches redfish, he wants to continue catching redfish, even though the tournament may call for trout or flounder. So my goal is going to get him to focus off that redfish and get him focusing on catching those trout. In turn, he's a great sight fisherman. I fished with him before. I'm hoping he can help me out, get to those areas. where he can kind of point them out to me. Maybe he's got his redfish already. He says, Sean, look, let's go catch your redfish. Let's go find these areas. Let's go catch yours. And in turn, we'll go out. I'm a little bit probably better trout fisherman than he is. We'll go out and look for some trout, try some different tactics. And, certainly when I catch my trout, I'm going to get him and try to get him on that spot as well. There's not big numbers in this. We're looking for more quality fish. That's why we're looking at one redfish, obviously a slot redfish, 5 trout, so some good quality trout. You can take your time. You can use bigger baits. You can do what you want to try to really focus in on getting those big fish. Now for teams, Tyler, if you could put up the list there of the chart you made earlier. Let me know when it's up.
Yeah, it's up.
All right, so this is a list that we created. The officers spent a lot of time. We spent the last 4 or 5 months trying to figure out what's the best way to kind of prevent any super teams. And, we didn't want to knock a lot of people out from fishing together, but what we decided to do was go back to the last 2 years, look at any angler that placed in first place in any Bayou Coast tournament, including the Slam divisions for Fall and Tide and Paddlepalooza, and also the Lafayette Kayak Club. They've got some great fishermen in that club. We didn't want anybody in our club going over there and poaching one of their aces and bringing them in and coming in and wiping it out. So the list of anglers that we have listed on the tournament are all people who have placed in first place in a Bayou Coast or Lafayette Club tournament in the last 2 years. Those anglers, along with any anglers who have qualified for the Hobie Worlds, are prevented from fishing from each other, with each other. They can fish with anybody else they want to, and we encourage some of these people to go out and maybe find some, anglers that aren't as experienced as them, and help them out. Maybe help these guys out qualify for the championship, and do that. So what we didn't want to do was go through and just randomly pick out people. Hey, this guy's a good fisherman. This guy's a good fisherman. So we're going to ban them from fishing together. We thought a fairer way to do it was just to take people who have placed in first and ban them from fishing together, or prohibit them from fishing together. I think is probably a better word. Certainly, this is no knock to all these other anglers. We have some great fishermen out there that maybe just did not place first in the next, in the last 2 years. I'm actually looking forward to seeing some of these teams out there. I've got a number of names that come to mind already that I think will probably end up teaming up. Looking forward to competing against them, and really looking forward to this tournament. It's something I've wanted to do for a couple of years. We finally got it in place, and really looking forward to fishing. So what we'd like to do is, I know there may be some questions about any of these tournaments or for Trout Challenge. If we've got any questions from any of our viewers, now's the time to ask. Certainly, if something comes up to you later on, we can address those questions. Tyler, do we have anything?
No questions now, but one thing I wanted to mention, you mentioned Hobie Worlds qualifiers. So on this list, I listed the few that I know of that typically fish our events, like Matt Van, Tommy Eubanks, Benton Parrott. But even if you're not on this list, if you're a Hobie Worlds qualifier, you're still on this list. I just didn't list all the names, So just know that if somebody on this list wants to go get their buddy who's over in Florida, but he might have qualified for the Hobie Worlds, he's still not allowed to fish with another, what we're calling power angler on this slide. But
yeah, the only question to come up on Facebook was from Mark Eubanks, who was wondering if him and his dad could fish together, Mr. Tommy. Unfortunately, Mark, winning Paddlepalooza and Mr. Tommy winning everything under the sun, that they are considered a power team and they are not allowed to fish together.
Mr. Tommy, if you're looking for someone to fish with,
Mr. Tommy is the first person on the board.
I'm like, well, that's true. I can't do it. Yeah, so I'll be banned. So maybe one of you guys. But so look, be creative, have fun with this tournament. Be creative with your team name. There's gonna be some situations and some questions coming up. If your team member comes in early, what happens? Look, y'all are gonna have to launch together. Y'all are gonna have to weigh in together. Here's the big thing, though, and I forgot to mention this. You cannot split up. you have to stay within sight distance of each other. And now, when I say that, use some common sense. If you're fishing on one side of Catfish Lake and your partner's on the other side, that's not sight distance. If you're fishing down the same stretch of bank and y'all are a couple hundred yards away from each other, stand up in the kayak and you can see each other, yeah, that's fine. What we're trying to encourage are people fishing together, enjoying the company, enjoying rooting on your team members. I mean, this past weekend, even though, me, Josh, and Tyler, Jason, were all competing against each other, we also had a blast watching each other catch the fish. When someone catch a big trout, we were happy for them. We cheered them on. This is a way you can actually do that, but also it's going to be to your advantage. When you come in with your fish, your partner's got his fish, and you're weighing together, I think it's going to be a lot of fun for a lot of people. I've had a number of people texting me already wanting to know about the format, wanting to start figure out who their team member was going to be and kind of start planning and strategizing. So, give it some thought. If you have any questions about it, what you consider sight distance, let me know. But basically use common sense. I will say that everybody out there is going to be on the watch out. We may have a polygraph out at this tournament. So, don't share your fish. Don't separate, just, play within the rules, have a good time. I think it's going to be a great tournament. And certainly it'll be a preview for Paddlepalooza. You can use this opportunity to scout for Paddlepalooza if you plan on fishing down in Golden Meadow or Leeville.
Yeah, if you know somebody who's really good on the pack, get those guys up. You team up with someone who knows pack, someone who knows Leeville. There's no rules against bouncing around either.
No, there's not. None. You can certainly start. If you want to run out to Golden Meadow or something and catch your trout, then haul on over to pack and try to catch your redfish. Certainly within limits. I think some people even suggested starting out in pack and maybe starting out in Golden Meadow and working your way over to pack for the weigh-in. I know it's a paddle, but I'm sure it can be done. You're fishing with a team, so you can certainly make arrangements for that. So lots of different options for people. Again, come up with a good name. We're going to be out there. It's going to be a great tournament. It's going to be a lot of fun. Early April, that's just going to be a great time to fish. A lot of trout, a lot of redfish out there. Weather should be good, hopefully, knock on wood. So we're really looking forward to that one.
Hey, Sean, Mark Eubanks is asking, when will a final list of power anglers be listed? I mean, I think we're pretty final with it now, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that should be the list along with anybody who qualified for the Hobie Worlds.
Yeah. I'll get it posted on the. I'm gonna double check it because I threw that together kind of quick for the episode tonight. I'll double check it and we'll get it posted up on the rules and the forum.
And certainly if you have a question about whether or not your team is okay, email one of us at the club, at the officers. We can check into it for you. But really, we were just looking at those people listed and anybody who qualified for the Hobie Worlds. Trying to team up together. So hopefully this will level the playing field a little bit and kind of spread out some of the love.
Yeah, I'm looking for a partner who's got an extra life jacket.
Absolutely. Well, look, guys, I think that's going to wrap tonight's episode. Next week, we're going to try to get somebody on from Lafayette Club to talk a little bit about their club. Their tournament that's coming up, March Madness. Tyler touched base on it earlier. Some of their other tournaments and stuff. We're right in the thick of tournament season, so really these next few weeks are going to be focused on all these great tournaments coming up. After Double Trouble, we're going to be moving on to Paddlepalooza. The month of April is going to be our toast to Paddlepalooza. So we're going to spend a lot of time on that, and then once the tournament's kind of in for the spring session, we're going to start moving into other things. Selecting rods, reels, all the good stuff out there. So we got a lot of good stuff coming out. We look forward to seeing you guys next week, and certainly we'll talk some more at that point. If you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to give us a call, shoot us an email, or whatever. Josh, Jeffrey, thanks for coming on tonight. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I'm at a Hilton Holiday Inn, and internet's running real slow over here tonight.
Well, our viewers doubled when we took your face off the screen, so it's hard.
Okay. Well, there we go. All right, guys.
This is not a plug for Holiday Inn.
Holiday Inn Express.
Are you Holiday Inn pro staff or?
Hashtag Holiday Inn.
Hashtag Holiday Inn.
Hashtag Holiday Inn. Internet sucks.
All right. Thanks everybody.
All right, guys. Talk to y'all later. Signing off.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.